And we have carried that message to local and state and national leaders. And then when we heard that Charlotte may not be hosting the convention after all, we very quickly started hashtag RNC to Jax, and we began promoting the message that we knew to be true, that Jacksonville is the single best city in America to host the Republican National Convention. And Mayor Curry and the governor and all of the mayor's team and all of the unsung heroes that work with our city, their machinery geared up, and they did the hard work, the planning, the providing of information, and they did everything that they knew to do to make sure that we got a chance and a fair hearing at holding the RNC convention. And so here we are today to celebrate the fact that history is about to be made in our city. The Republican Party of Duval County is ecstatic. We are overjoyed. The Republican Party of Duval County knows that we bring so much to the table. We have unified Republican governance. We have highly effective government here. We have a government that has a demonstrated record of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We are used to planning for hurricanes, sometimes back to back. We have exceptional Republican governance and an exceptional business community, a downtown that is second to none. And we are going to show that off to the world. And we are going to have more than $100 million economic impact just at the moment when so many restaurant owners and bar owners and hotel owners and other businesses throughout our city most need it. We are overjoyed because our city has an opportunity to really set an example. Because there's something else that our city has demonstrated its ability to do very well. In Jacksonville, we handled the recent protests exceptionally well. Our mayor and all of our leaders and Sheriff Mike Williams deserve commendation for that, but also the people of Jacksonville deserve credit too. I said earlier that we should all be overjoyed, that this is a great thing for all of the citizens of Jacksonville, and I mean exactly that. We are going to have a chance, all the residents of our great city, to show the world why we have hope. I come here with a heart filled with joy, but also hope. Hope that our city can be that example. Some out there even now say that this convention must be divisive. And I answer that question with this simple question: why is that necessarily true? I refuse to accept the fact that the hosting of the Republican National Convention in our great city must somehow necessarily be divisive. It's only divisive if you choose to make it so. Choose not to be divided. Choose not to be apart from. Choose instead to be a part of. There is nothing wrong with every citizen of Jacksonville joining hands with their brothers and sisters and saying, look, we may disagree politically, but we are all Americans. And together we can celebrate the grand spectacle, this great tradition of the Republican Party, a great part of our constitutional history in America, something that makes America truly great and a beacon of light to the whole world. We get a chance here in Jacksonville to remind America of its greatness. And all that we have to do is remember that we are all Americans, that in truth, we are all family, and that once upon a time, we did elections without rancor. Oh, they would be spirited, but there would be no rancor, and they wouldn't be divisive. And that wasn't all that long ago. Americans all over this country should look to Jacksonville for hope. Let us press reset. Let real national and local healing begin here in our town, in Jacksonville, because Jacksonville isn't just any city. We are a great city, and we know how to do this together. Choose not to be divided. Choose to love one another. Disagree. Protest if you will. Do it respectfully. And be all in awe of the grand moment that is coming to our city and is a part of the timeless march of history that all the world looks to for guidance. Restore the faith that Americans have, and thereby restore the faith of the world. That is what I call upon all of the citizens here to do, Republican, unregistered, independent, and Democrat. No one should have a problem with this. Everyone should rise to the challenge of being great Americans. Let the healing begin here. And now I will take your questions.
Dean, are we talking about a full-fledged convention? Will any of it be scaled back in any way because of COVID-19 concerns?
That's two questions. So some of the convention, the infrastructure part, some of the more bureaucratic part, committee meetings and so on, are going to remain in Charlotte. And that's great for us because that makes planning a lot easier, fewer moving parts to move and organize. And yet the grand spectacle, what everyone perceives as the convention, the days of speeches culminating in the president, that will all be here. And for all intent, what happens in the back room, that won't be here. The convention itself, though, it's going to be here, and it is going to be a grand event. You've never seen anything like it.
But it's going to be full-fledged. It's not going to be, scaled back. I don't think you answered that.
The perception that you're not going to have the bureaucratic backroom stuff. All right. So that part that nobody really sees anyway, that's not going to be here. Everything else, days worth of activities, is going to be here. For all intents and purposes, that is a full convention, and you should expect days worth of activities, numerous speakers. It is going to be a big deal. Now, your second question was about COVID-19. Look, some have said, as recently as today, that this is reckless and irresponsible. It is only reckless and irresponsible if you deal with it recklessly and irresponsibly, and we are not going to do that. They, I already know, plan on taking temperatures, they are going to sanitize facilities, and they will have a comprehensive plan to keep us safe. The COVID-19 pandemic is a terrible tragedy worldwide. But we simply cannot crawl under a rock and stay there forever. At some point, we must figure out how to live again. Ultimately, if we freeze our economy, the resulting famine would kill far more people than the pandemic ever would. And even as you cannot stop the economy, you cannot stop history either.
Can you walk us through day by day what we can expect? Like, is this going to be a 3-day process, 4-day? What will happen each day?
I understand that it will be a 3-day event. I understand from past conventions that you will have numerous speakers each day. You can also expect all sorts of events off-site. There will be numerous dinners and just events too numerous to mention right now. And I haven't seen the agenda yet. The Committee on Arrangements has all of that, and a lot of that stuff is still in the works.
Is it like, Fred, I'm just trying to find out, will there be a nomination here, acceptance, like one day? Is that how it works? Because a lot of
the acceptance speech, the president's speech, is going to be here.
Sir, your message of unity is, of course, very admirable. The president hasn't been known for sharing that same message. So do you plan to really push this everyone should come together ahead of the convention?
Well, first of all, I disagree with your predicate assumption, and I do believe that we entirely are responsible for our own behavior.
Here, here.
It matters not what you think of anyone else. We are responsible for what we do. We are not slaves to our emotions. We are human beings, brothers and sisters, fellow members of our city. And I am calling upon all of us to behave responsibly together. We need to be reminded as a people, as a nation. I think you all know it. You all feel it. We have that opportunity here. We must not let it go to waste.
Do you anticipate the delegates coming from each state to be the same as it has been in past years, or are you going to do anything to maybe cut back on the delegate count at all?
That's two questions also. So, to your first question, do I expect the same delegates to come as have been in past years? They're elected, so there'll be a different group of individuals. I know that some delegates will be going to North Carolina, and they will have proxy powers, and they will be ratifying the platform, the Rules Committee, and all of the committee work there. However, the overwhelming majority of delegates will be right here in Jacksonville.
We've heard that $100 million. You brought up the $100 million in economic impact, and we've heard the mayor talk about it as well. Where is that number coming from, and do we know exactly what areas that it's going to have an impact in?
We've actually done lots of conventions before, and lots of studies have been done on exactly what happens when a convention comes in town. And actually, that's a conservative number. If you dig into it, you'll find that there are numbers out there that say no, that the number's closer to 200 million. I think 100 million is actually conservative. I expect also that this will have a greater impact than expected. There is a lot of pent-up demand. A lot of people have been cooped up and they're just looking for a place to go, and they would really like to celebrate, and Jacksonville will be the beneficiary of that.
Are there any COVID-19 precautions you'll be really pushing for?
Well, as Chairwoman McDaniel said this morning, they will be sanitizing everything. They will be taking temperatures. And I am sure still other precautions will be implemented. And those things will also be implemented in light of better developed information that we have at that time. You know, we're still a good ways out from the convention, and they will look at that and the transmission rates, and where things stand there will decide exactly what precautions they finally do implement.
Dean, there's for a rally that the president is having in Tulsa coming up soon, people are having to agree that they won't sue the venue, sue the president, or anybody in the federal government if they contract COVID-19. Do you anticipate that being the case for the RNC? Will people have to sign a waiver?
I've heard discussion of that. That's not my call to make.
Will you be encouraging your members of the Duval GOP to take precautions such as wearing masks and socially distancing if they go to the RNC?
We will take precautions consistent with those that are recommended by our leadership at that time. I can tell you that we already take precautions here.
Dean, I know I'm bringing this here, this was a group effort, but to get the start on this, was this something that was pushed by the mayor, pushed by you, or the city leaders, or the operatives like, say, Susie Wiles or Tim Baker? What really made this come here? How did it get here?
That's 5 questions.
Well, I mean, but it's all the same.
And the answer is all the same. Yes.
So, but
All of the
what
above.
person that-
All of the above. As a great near simultaneous upwelling, the Republican Party of Duval County, various operatives, various state leaders, the mayor's office, everyone simultaneously recognized this is a good opportunity. It was all hands on deck, and everybody did everything that they knew to do, and we were successful. It was a team effort, a spontaneous effort, and everyone gets credit.
I mean, I've been here for over 30 years. I think this is a great surprise for many people that is coming here. But really, why Jacksonville? I mean, what is it that sold them to bring it here?
Well, I just explained. Jacksonville is an exceptional city. Look at the contrast between how things have been going recently in other cities, and look at how we've handled things here. It's very different here. Never forget that. You also have unified Republican governance. We have a supportive population. We also have fabulous facilities. We have infrastructure. It's a beautiful city. There's a great downtown, a supportive business community. We have lower COVID-19 transmission rates here and a demonstrated record of being able to deal with very difficult, very complex challenges on very short notice. Not many cities have to deal with major hurricanes back to back, for example. And the mayor's administration handled that extremely well.
Dean, doctors that we've spoken to, including the CDC and other health experts, say that wearing a mask at the RNC should be a requirement. Will you be wearing a mask at the RNC?
We will make the decisions as to exactly what precautions to take at the convention based upon the guidance of our leaders at that time, and those decisions will be fully made and implemented in light of better developed information that we will have in due course.
Do you have any insight as to whether there's going to be places set aside for protesters to do their protest?
That has customarily happened at past conventions. One would assume that there would be areas for that here, although I don't have direct knowledge of that. That's a better question for the mayor and possibly the sheriff.
How many delegates are actually going to be coming here, and how many are going to be staying in Charlotte? Do you know?
I don't know exactly how the numbers break down. It's a very tiny fraction in Charlotte.
Okay.
Is there one thing that set Jacksonville apart?
It's everything. It's everything. It's everything. We are the best city in America to do this.
And, this is quite an accomplishment. How much pride do you take in pulling this off in such a short period of time?
Me personally, none. As chairman, when things go well, it's my team. Now, when something goes wrong, that will be my fault.
When did you learn that it was for sure coming here?
No comment.
All right, one more. Unless we're done.
What's next for you? What happens? What's the next thing you're going to be doing?
We are recruiting volunteers. We stood up a website immediately. We had all of that ready to go along with, we've already communicated with tens and tens and tens of thousands of people here locally. If people want to get involved, they should go to rncvolunteer.com and volunteer. In just the past couple of hours, we have had more than 100 people register to volunteer for this convention. We will need thousands of volunteers, and we are actively bringing in people from right here in our community, and together they're going to get the opportunity to make history with us.
To do what? Volunteer for what?
For the convention. These conventions are able to function at the scale and with the grandeur that they do based on the help of many hands. And we will have need of thousands and thousands and thousands of volunteers. In the past convention, I think they recruited somewhere on the order of 7,000 volunteers. Now, we have had more than 800 in just the past few hours. And we encourage people to go to rncvolunteer.com if they would like to get involved and volunteer. There's going to be something for everyone to do. It's a great event, and we're going to make history.
Thank you, guys. I get to pay for it.
Okay, you just heard from Dean Black, chairman of the Duval County Republican Party. A couple things I want to go over. He started off this conference talking about the joy and the hope that he has that Jacksonville will be an example to the rest of the nation because we're pulling this off in a record amount of time here. He also talked about the logistics of this, that the meetings and the committees and the things that happen sort of behind closed doors traditionally with these conventions, that will still happen, but in Charlotte, that you won't really notice that missing when it comes to Jacksonville. But he called it a grand spectacle, and that will be held here. All the celebrations, all the speakers, what you know of as the convention will be in our city here in Jacksonville. It's a 3-day event that's been confirmed with all the events surrounding the big event down at Veterans Memorial Arena, ViStar. When it comes to COVID-19, temperature checks and hand sanitizers throughout the venues. He stopped short, though, of what the CDC says is the most effective way to stop the spread, which is social distancing and masks. He chose to move that to closer to August. We'll hear more about that. So we will continue to ask more questions about this major news that is unprecedented in this country and huge for our city for a lot of reasons. Count on Action News Jax to bring you the latest on this breaking story. We're going to turn a lot of this around, get you more information on Action News Jax at noon. I'll see you then.
This has been a CBS 47 Fox 30 Action News Jax breaking news update. For continuing coverage of this story, download the Action News Jax news app.